So welcome to Pricing for Profit. I guess you're here if we're connected on LinkedIn or you're an agency owner, you have a consultant. Oh, I can hear lots of background noise. So if you've got lots of noise around you, please just pop yourself on mute. That would be great. But yeah, so like I was saying, we're either connected on LinkedIn or you're an agency owner and have a consultancy-based business. So if that is you, then you're definitely in the right place. And please feel free to put what you do in the chat, your LinkedIn profile, if you're open to connecting with other people. You know, we're all here to learn, so we've already got something in common, which I think is just fantastic. So we've got, I always say 1, 2, 3 too many. So I'm going to try and keep it to 3 core topics today. I want to really hit home why you should never discount your prices. And you're going to learn the 2 most important factors to pricing, how to avoid the commodity trap. And you're also going to learn the big secret to unlocking pricing power and enable you to raise your rates. Now, I had originally had this training module at 3 hours, but don't worry, I've cut it down as much as I possibly can, but that does mean that I'm going to go hard and I'm going to go fast. So I hope that's okay with you. If you guys could just put some sugar in the chat for me, that would be great, because then I know I'm not speaking to myself and you can hear me. So I am not holding back today. I am really not holding back. I have pulled out some of my best stuff, and this is straight out of the agency operating system that I teach in the Growth Code program. And we're pulling a slice out of the pricing strategies in the business model mastery pillar. There's going to be time to answer questions. I'm going to pause and check in during the workshop. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to ask you guys to engage in the chat because it helps me make this more relevant, but also it helps you to take this in, because if you're here, I want to make sure that you walk away with some good stuff. Is that good with everyone? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kelly, Quinn, Michelle. Yeah, keep dropping that hellfire in the chat for me. So very quickly, because there's some new names and new faces here. I'm Sian. I'm an agency veteran and Forbes business coach. That's the boring stuff. These are my 3 dogs. They feature in my social media profile quite often, but a friend has taken them for a walk. So you're not going to hear Milo giving us his 5 cents today. I am most proud of in my 40 years on planet Earth is that I have tested, failed, and learned, and I have failed big. But one thing I know for certain is that when I was little, my dad told me that small businesses are the foot soldiers of the economy. And that really stuck with me. And what I noticed, and I've lived in 6 countries, by the way, and what I've noticed in every place I've lived in is that when small businesses thrive, families thrive, communities thrive. So I'm on a mission to end entrepreneurial poverty, and I have a vision to help at least 10,000 businesses in the next decade to have more freedom, financial prosperity, and flow in their business. So that is why I do this stuff and what lights me up. But I promise that's enough of the introductions. I also promised you guys that if you showed up live, that I would have a gift for you. And I am a woman of my word. You're not going to get a free iPad, I'm afraid, but at the end of this, you are going to get a guide to raising your prices with a proven script to communicate price increases to your clients in a way that you will feel good and your clients will too. So if you stick around, I'm going to share that with you a little bit later as a thank you for coming live today. Now, apart from bribing you to stay, hopefully the content will be good enough. But apart from that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me your time today. And I'm truly going to honor that by giving you some good stuff here. Ironically, it's free, but my coach did challenge me on that. But, but it's interesting because doing this kind of workshop is really aligned to my mission, and it's really congruent with me giving back to the industry that gave me my dream life. And yeah, if you think there's going to be a sales pitch at the end, well, I'm going to be sure not to disappoint you. But on a serious note, I am launching a group program for agencies who want to get off the plateau, ditch the roller coaster, and grow their agency on their terms with more ease, flow, and freedom. So if I have added value for you today and you do want to stick around at the end to hear about that, I will ask your permission to share details of that program. So are we ready to get started? Okay. So why is pricing so tricky? I just want to set the scene a little bit first. You are busy. You and your team are busy and you seem to be stretched to the limit. You might even be thinking that you need to hire another team member, maybe to take some things off your plate, but maybe to hire another producer. But you're worried. You don't seem to be making profit. And if you are in single-digit net profit margins, that is a sign of trouble. Your bank balance accounting method is also making your palms a little sweaty as cash is lower than a snake's belly in a wagon rut. Does that resonate with anyone? Well, that does happen when you're at the bottom of the dip of the roller coaster that I talk about. But what happens is then ding dong, a request for a proposal comes in, a new lead comes in, maybe a referral, and you think to yourself, I need to land this project. If I can just land this next big client, then everything will be okay. It'll give me a bit of breathing room. And then the mind games start. If you price too high, you might not win. If you price too low, well, you start wondering if stacking shelves at Tesco is such a bad idea. And you can start to feel the pressure mounting like Old Faithful. And that's before you've started worrying about what the competitors are doing and the gig economy. And then you start thinking about clients who start to do things themselves, and dare I mention AI or Canva. So you start procrastinating on writing that proposal and you get a little bit stuck. Does that resonate with anyone? Just drop me a yes in the chat or an answer in the chat so I know that you guys can still hear me. That would be great. Okay, but before you guys start lowballing your prices and bankrolling your clients' projects, let's have a chat, Leroy Brown, because discounting is always a bad idea. I would say that about 70% of agencies rely on project or hourly billing and pricing. And according to SODA, with a report on global agency landscape, 50% of agencies have less than 3 months visibility in their revenue forecast. So it's legitimately a very scary place to be operating from, but discounting is still a bad idea. First, margins. The marketing industry and agencies, they vary widely, so it's been very difficult to pin down a benchmark. But based on extensive research that I've done and commissioned, I have a range from the Small Business Administration and the 4As. The median net margins for agencies range from 8 to 11%. 8%. Your landlord is getting more out of the property you're renting for your studio. So instead of hustling and firefighting and grinding, you could just stick your money into an investment or buy a rental property and do nothing for 8%. So where do you guys sit on that range? If you do know your margins and you're willing to share, please pop them in the chat. But if you don't know your margins, please write down this action point to leave this workshop today and go and figure out what those margins are. Next, when you're discounting, you're stuck in the commodity trap. You're busy selling your hands and not your brains. And I had another report commissioned where I found out that the average take-home salary of an agency owner is about $36,000 in the UK and about $44,000 in the States. When you throw in your late nights, working weekends, grinding away, you're working probably for less than minimum wage. And I get, as creative entrepreneurs, we don't always start our businesses for money, but if your agency is owning you, and that doesn't sound like freedom to me. In fact, that is what I call entrepreneurial poverty. You're living from month to month and you're trapped because you don't have the room to invest, you don't have the room to move. Yeah, David, that's right. Margins range massively as well from job to job. So we have to really get to grips with our numbers. And when you're in that space and place, you can't focus on value. You perpetuate this scarcity mindset. And if you focus on price, your clients will focus on price too. Which brings me onto your team. I've already mentioned you and your team are already spread thin. When you discount, there's a human cost to discounting prices, motivation, staff retention, burnout. But then there's also an opportunity cost. If you're bankrolling your clients' projects, you're not working on your business to take it to the next level. And that's how we get stuck. That's how we get stuck on the plateau and stuck on this feast and famine roller coaster. And that's why I've created the Growth Code program, which I'll be so excited if you let me share that later. But being stuck, having shitty profits, that's not freedom, it's not rewarding, and frankly, you don't feel secure in your business. And before I go on from this point, you can't discount your time. If you're discounting your time, you're undervaluing it. And you have to start valuing your time before anyone else will value it. So all of those things being said, that's just what's going on internally. Never mind that when we discount our prices, we start attracting a different kind of client. We've all seen memes like this and we've had a chuckle, and maybe a name has popped into your head right now. But I've got a little story to tell you. A few years ago, in fact, many years ago, in my agency days, I was pitching for a website redesign of a large recruitment business. When I arrived at the pitch, I just knew that I wasn't going to win. I just knew I wasn't going to win. So I slid my laptop under the seat of my car and I called the team and I said, can someone just take the proposal, just double the price and send it back to me as quickly as you can. Maybe it was the Bentleys in the driveway or the tailored suits. I don't know what it was, but I just knew that if I was going to be close or anywhere close to the bottom of the price range, that I wasn't going to win. Because I was selling to action takers. I was selling to people who value brands because they're quality. I was selling to people that wanted to be wowed. So when I doubled the price and I went in there nervous as hell, we won. We won that pitch. And when I had this realization that pricing is power and pricing is positioning, my agency went from doing 5K websites and scrapping for the bits of jobs to doing 20K, 50K, and 180K projects. And that was when the game of business changed for me. It was one of the good life-changing moments. At some point, I'll tell you guys about the bad life-crushing moments that weren't so much fun. But you don't have to struggle with pricing, and you don't need to fantasize about stacking shelves at Tesco. Has anything dropped for you yet? Have there been any aha moments that you've had from this so far? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the chat. And by the way, when clients do ask for a discount, this was my favorite phrase when someone did that. I would say, we work up to a quality and not down to a price. And I promise if you use that one, it's got a guaranteed effectiveness attached to it. But whatever challenges you have in your business, yes, Michaela, pricing is positioning. Whatever challenges you have in your business when it comes to pricing, any of the ones I've mentioned already, or any other pricing objections that you've come across in your business, your action point from this is to capture them on one piece of paper, get all of those barriers, obstacles, and challenges down, and then start to workshop and strategize ways of overcoming each one. I do that with my clients in my coaching containers. Whenever there's a barrier or an obstacle, we write it down and we workshop the hell out of it so that we can remove that obstacle from achieving whatever you want to be, do, and have. So now that we've gotten discounting out of our systems and I can move on. Warren Buffett said the single most important decision in evaluating a business is pricing power. He also went on to say that if you have the power to raise your prices without losing business to a competitor, you have a very good business. But if you have to pray before raising your prices by 10%, you have a terrible business. So I want to ask you guys, what if I asked you to raise your rates by 10%, 20%, or maybe even 50%? How does that make you feel when you think about raising your rates? One word that sums it up, write it in the chat. How does that make you feel about raising your rates? What impact does that have on you? I'm going to share a very quick example. One of my clients, an agency in Devon, I started working with them in 2021. They had several legacy clients. Kelly, retention, I'm going to answer that for you, absolutely. So this client, they had lots of clients on legacy pricing, and I mean £30 an hour, £35 an hour rates. And out of fear of losing a client, the studio team were lowballing jobs because they didn't want to upset their clients. That's so kind. We raised their rates because I challenge my clients. I don't sugarcoat anything. And we created a communication plan for existing clients. We trained the studio team on the new rates and the pricing structures. This client had a 35% uplift in revenue almost immediately. That meant that there was an extra 60K of cash available to the business. And the business owner got a nice pay rise too. But the compound effect was that even after we'd done the price increase, new clients were brought onto the new prices. We were quoting properly. And guess what? They didn't actually lose any clients. In fact, they had a few clients that said, if we knew we were getting a bargain and we were wondering how long it was going to last. If I'm truthful, I think they did have one client that dropped off, but that client was a very squeaky wheel, so it wasn't a problem. Now, at the end of 9 months working with this client, they had 122% growth. But I don't want to just talk about theory. I want to do some numbers with you guys, and I really want to monetize this, because if you can monetize it, it will help you with those feelings like Ian, uncertainty and retention. It will help you to understand how we can overcome these things. So let's monetize it. I love creating these 10-10-10 plans, by the way. It's actually one of the first steps in my program. I like clients to have a well-rounded growth plan. So we break down your big goals into nice, easy to swallow chunks. But I'm not going to go into this in a huge detail because of time today. We're just going to focus on the pricing. And I do want you to do the math with me very quickly. Okay, so there's only 3 ways to grow a business: get new clients, increase our prices, and increase the frequency we sell to our clients. On number 3, if you truly do have a business where you only sell one thing to a client once, then you can swap that number for referrals. So just bear that in mind. So here's our hypothetical business. We've got a $250,000 business, 100 clients, 2,500 average price, we sell once. Now, if we raise the prices just by 10%, we have a $275,000 business. That's 25,000 more revenue for not doing a hell of a lot. But here's the kicker. If you raise your rates by 10%, you don't only increase your revenue, but you increase your profits by 10%. And if we went 20%, now you've got a $300,000 business. So you can see the potential of just raising your rates has on the business. When you've broken the math down like this, does that make you feel excited? Does it make you feel a bit more like, okay, we're going to do this? Thank you, Michaela. Yeah, it is. It's a simple formula that helps to make it totally doable. So we've talked about raising your rates, and talking about it is one thing. So let's talk about executing it, because I want to draw a line in the sand, and I want you guys to play to win, not play to lose, to not lose. There's a difference between that, and I hope that difference lands with you. And so if I can only share 3 mindset shifts that you take away today, it would be these 3. First of all, prices go up. It's just the way the world works. And I mean, what prices haven't gone up lately? I had a text message from Vodafone the other day, your prices are going up. Awesome. You read it, you accept it, and you move on with your day. When it comes to pricing, I have this formula. In fact, this formula works for most things. Some will, some won't. Who cares? Move on. It's just pricing. The next thing, your perception of price is not your client's perception of value. If we all only bought on price, we would only eat McDonald's and we would all only drive Suzuki Swifts. Sometimes what we think is expensive is our own perception. It's not our client's perception. So my challenge to you is to really think about how many of your clients have ever really said no based on price alone? And how many of your clients have actually secretly thought, I'm getting a bargain, I better keep quiet. So there's this thought that if you raise your rates that you're going to lose business, but I promise you it's a myth. And I'm going to show you how to bust that myth wide open today. Then the other thing, and this one is especially for my British and my English friends with me today, money is just an exchange of energy. We produce something and there's a value output from that energy, and money is exchanged for that. There's nothing more, nothing less. But we tend to overcomplicate this with our own baggage. And I can't reiterate this enough, that if you focus on price and not value, your clients will focus on price and not value. So I'm going to go on, but I want to mention there's obviously lots of other things that affect pricing, such as how big your niche or niche is, how big your audience is, and lots of other things. But I love reminding business owners that there are, of course, some clients who can't afford your rates, but accept that they are not your ideal client. Tiffany has clients who pay $550 for a clothes peg. And there are people who pay 52 euros for this bottle of water. So there are clients for every price point. Find yours. So let's talk about the two factors then. This bit, I'm going to go fast and go hard. So please let me know if everyone's with me and you can hear me and everything's okay. So number one, clients have needs and they are talking to you because they have a pain. They need a solution to a problem that they have. They need to rent your experience. Note, clients don't come to you because they're buying time. They are renting your experience to cure their pain or solve their problem. And legendary Harvard marketing professor Theodore Levitt was famous for saying, sell the hole, not the drill. And he would argue that people don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill. They want to buy a 1/4-inch hole. I love that story and I bring it up whenever I have the chance. But this is a double-sided coin. So let me go on. It is your duty to understand the client's needs better than they can. Because if you can articulate the pain better than the client, they will believe that you have the solution. They will create that connection themselves. In my selling systems, I teach clients about building level authority, and we build this into some of the scripts, including how to get a budget out of a client, even when they say they don't have a budget. There's always a way. But here's the thing. You have to think about this like a surgeon or a doctor. You're prescribing a treatment or medicine. And I would bet that out of the proposals that you've lost, it's not really because of price. It's because you've not hit the nail on the head and really pressed on the pain point. That's okay. I see and I look over dozens of agency proposals, and it's quite common that they are full of beautiful, wonderful content and mock-ups, and they look amazing, but not very often do they start with the client, define the client's need, lay out the client's desired result. So I know what you're thinking at this point. You're probably thinking, Sean, this is great, but it's all very theoretical. How do we put this into practice? Am I right? So I'm going to break this down for you with an example, and then we're going to look at exactly how you can achieve this result. And by the way, as I go through this, please don't only think about proposals. I'm also talking about your marketing content. I'm talking about how you guide people through the buying journey. And I'm also talking about, if I was to go and binge your content, is it clear who you help, what the pain is that you solve? Do you present the solution in a way that I just get it? So here it is. Ultimately, we want to know and understand the client's pain. So that's the first part of the problem. Then we need to get to a place where we can compare the value of their problem to the price of our solution. So if a client has a $100,000 problem and you're solving it for $10,000, well, that's a freaking bargain. Now, I promised you an example. Well, do you guys want to see an example of exactly how to do that? Awesome, awesome. Okay, thank you for the sugar in the chat. So I had, it was about 3 years ago, I had a cybersecurity client. They were targeting construction companies with a cybersecurity package that cost £10,000. So a super competitive market. No one wants to buy this thing unless they actually have to solve the problem, when they actually have the pain. So what did we do? We started by getting some research, understanding the industry and digging in deep. We actually got some statistics from a major insurance company, and we came up with this. We showed clients that we understood the pain. Now, this is important. Even if they weren't problem aware, we then monetized that problem and created FOMO and positioned the price against not solving the problem. So I'm going to show you how. This is the text. So this was part of a wider campaign, proposals, social media. This is part of a lot more. This was the summary of it. A typical cybersecurity attack costs a mid-sized construction firm £174,000. The bad news is that cyber attacks cost more than money, and they're only increasing in frequency. According to Hiscox, their construction clients are increasing their cybersecurity by 188%. The good news is that we can assess your risk, identify swift actions, and safeguard your business for a fraction of the potential monetary loss, time, reputation damage, and increased insurance premiums. That package was then positioned at £10,000. So do you see how positioning this, you're now being compared to the price of the problem, not being compared to your competitors? Okay. So as a business owner, as an agency owner, you have a duty to learn the skill and how to show more value than anyone else. And if you've ever had a price objection in your business, you either A, didn't qualify and get a budget, or you didn't show enough value. So let me show you how to show value. Okay. We've already looked at how to avoid the commodity trap by positioning your price against the pain or the problem. And I love frameworks, by the way. I'm always teaching clients things with frameworks. So my coaching is very practical, as I've been told. But the other way to make your proposals more tangible is through my TAPS framework. I'm sorry for my Americans, it's not a faucet, it is a tap. So this is how we do it. It's tangible. We make it tangible. We make it aligned to the client's problem and needs. We make it proven using proven processes, case studies, testimonials, and we make sure that it's specific around the solution. Now, I love this structure because even if you think you're not good at sales, this covers everything someone needs to make a buying decision. My most favorite case study from the TAPS method was with one of my clients, Susie. She had an agile transformation agency, and we valued the benefit of her solution to clients. We used the TAPS method, and she had the backing and the confidence to raise her rates for her 12-week program by £50,000. But back to the here and now, I want to use another analogy to bring this idea of being tangible really home. So I have another analogy for you. As creatives, creative ideas, conceptual things, those are easy to understand for a creative person. But to clients, they're a little bit like steam. they can kind of see them, but they can't grab them. So if we take those steamy ideas and we cool them down a bit, then you get water. You can see it and touch it, but you still can't really hold it. But when you cool it down a bit more, you get an ice cube. That's 3D, it's tangible, it's solid, something clients can hold and touch. And that's what we essentially achieve when we go through the TAPS method. We have a framework to take ideas and solutions that you can't touch and turn them into something solid. We do that with staff, proven processes, proof, and all those things that I've mentioned. So I want to summarize these 2 points. Why? Because when you're pitching to a client, I want you to forget about price. If you can make a client feel understood, you can show them more value than anyone else. You can present that with more conviction and give the client more certainty than anyone else. Pricing will not be a discussion. And I love teaching this stuff. So let me ask you guys, now that you know the 2 factors to pricing for profit, I want to check in real quick. How would it feel to write and send proposals that can't be compared to competitors? How would it feel to not compete on price and get out of that race to the bottom? Thank you, Louise. Yeah, loving it. Wonderful. Yeah, it would feel amazing, wouldn't it? So getting pricing right and really getting these things into your sales book, such as a script to get a budget out of clients, qualifying your marketing leads to sales qualified leads, a process for understanding clients' pains. These things are really important to the operating system that I talk about. You have to nail it before you can scale it. And I would much rather that my clients were sending 5 highly qualified, highly strategic proposals out the door than spending so much time doing 10, 15, or 20 proposals and playing a numbers game. Because that's what I call throwing spaghetti at the wall. We don't want to throw spaghetti at the wall. It's very messy. So we're very nearly there. But as I've been going through this, I promised you guys that this wasn't going to be a workshop to talk about pricing models, retainers, project pricing, fee accounts, performance payments, contracts, day rates. I'm not talking about that stuff, but I would be amiss if I didn't stop briefly to talk about the holy grail of value-based pricing. Now, what I want to say about value-based pricing is all your revenue may never completely be in the value space, at least not until you're famous, like Ogilvy or Chiat Day or Saatchi. Pure value-based pricing could be a little bit of a unicorn, but remember, bigger budgets allow you to over-deliver. And when you deliver better quality, you can hire more experienced people, invest back into your processes, you can charge more for the value. But it needs to be said, because I see people, quoting this stuff on social media all the time. There's nothing wrong with trading time for money, as long as you are astutely aware of your profit margins and you are astutely aware of the commodity trap. So we always want to be aiming for value, of course, but your pricing still has to be somewhat on a time base. So that brings me to the 1 secret to raising your day rate. Now, I have to say that I've noticed that high growth, successful agencies have 2 things in common. First, they provide excellent service to their clients. That's probably because they've nailed their pricing, and so they can focus on delivering wow instead of being spread really thin. But secondly, they have impressive marketing and lead generation, which brings me on to the secret to raising your day rate. I want to ask you guys to please stop targeting clients who are searching for your services when they need them. If you are fishing in the same tiny proportion of the market of the people who are just buying right now, then that's where your competitors are too. And you are in a bloody red ocean trying to win the client jackpot. In other words, you keep taking a leaky bucket to the ocean and expecting to grow your agency sustainably and profitably. The secret to raising your day rate is having a pipeline full of your ideal clients and best buyers. If you don't have leads and a pipeline, you become so reliant on your existing clients. You start to stress about client churn, client retention becomes an issue, and you put the brakes on saying no to clients who you know are not a good fit. And ultimately, clients become more important to you than the other way around. And that is a nasty dynamic. Does anyone relate to that? Just going to make sure you guys can still hear me and Elon hasn't messed me around with the internet. Awesome. Thanks, Michaela. Now, my clients who understand and install the agency Leap system don't have a concern about where their next client is coming from. This is really important because I've heard a lot. Sorry, David, my internet is with Elon. I've heard a lot of chatter about recession and a lot of chatter about people not buying. And yes, it is a different economy right now. But one of my clients has just had one of their biggest revenue months ever. In February, they beat all previous sales months by 6 figures. So I am absolutely over the moon for them. Why? Because they consistently implement, execute, and track the marketing. They have a systematic follow-up process for leads, and they treat their business as their own client. And they proved to me that a 7-figure agency doesn't need a sales unicorn, but a sales playbook. They have a pipeline. It's taken a year, but they've gotten there, and now they can say no to projects that are below their threshold. It's marvelous and brilliant and feels amazing when you get to that position. When you really drill into a marketing strategy and get it working every quarter, then you can add another one and another pillar and another one. And that's how you scale your marketing. That's why you hear me say, nail it and scale it. And that's how you get off the roller coaster and how you create unshakable success. So if you had a pipeline full, you'd have the confidence to raise your rates. You would have the security to say no to clients who set off your alarm bells. So how nice would that be? Tell me in the chat what you guys are thinking at the moment. Because you can keep playing not to lose, or you can go for clients who are going to grow your business. But you get to decide your way to a more profitable agency. You get to decide that, and that is what is so cool. It's why we started our own businesses, so that we can decide. Now, I've covered the secret to raising your day rate, and now I'm going to go on to the formula for pricing. Because no matter how well you sell, no matter how many leads you have, if your day rate and your pricing isn't right, it doesn't matter, because you're on a sinking ship. In fact, you're on a sinking ship trying to bail the water with that leaking bucket. So I really want you to get religious about these numbers, and I've purposefully made this really, really simple. So here's step 1 of the pricing for profit formula. Knowing what your day rate is and knowing what your break-even day rate is. I ask a lot of agencies on the spot what their break-even rate is, and they can't tell me off the bat. That's a problem. So I want you to add up all of your overhead. I want you to work out the number of days you have to sell. So that's your capacity. There's about 260 working days a year. So you subtract holidays and subtract time for sick leave and stuff like that. And this will get you your break-even day rate. You want to get to grips with this number, because it's like flying a plane without instruments. And then you throw in some foggy weather and, well, you're going to crash into the hillside. So this is my fictitious business, 380,000 overhead. Sounds pretty steep, but let's just say that's what it is. And 1,040 days capacity. So the break-even rate is 365 a day. Now, this is step 2. My question to you is, do you want to play at 8%, or do you want to start playing at 20% or maybe more? And again, you get to decide what you want your margins to be. So you work that out. And then step 3, this is often a very missed step, is to do some market research. Because when you know what your competitors are doing and what the industry is telling you, what the industry average is, you can then adjust accordingly. So with this example, if the industry day rate was £600 a day, you can get away with charging £162 more, knowing that you're still competitive, knowing that you can make healthier profits. And remember, bigger budgets, you can deliver wow to your clients. There are so many benefits to raising rates and raising your day rate. It positions you. It allows you to have more flow, growth, and all those yummy things. But also, if you are building your agency to sell, I don't know if any of you are planning an exit in the future or in your long-term future, if you have a high day rate and a high gross margin, it's one of the 6 things that can really increase your multiplier, your value multiplier. So there is literally no downside to pricing for profit. So imagine that you can show more value than anyone else. You can understand your clients' needs and present them in a way that you're not being compared to price, but you're being compared to the price of solving the pain. You have a full pipeline of your ideal clients, and you have the security in your business to raise your rates and work for the clients who are going to grow your business. How would that feel? I can tell you that it's absolutely magic when you have an agency that's profitable and growing. That really does feel like freedom. Now, what if you had a roadmap? What if you had a roadmap to double your agency profitably without doubling your stress? That's not a trick question, by the way. I just want to ask you, what impact would that have on your business? What impact would that have on you and your family? What would that be worth to you? The client who I told you about, who grew their agency by 122%, that was worth nearly £400,000 to them. I have another client, Sam. That roadmap was worth nearly $1 million as Sam grew his agency with one slice of the operating system. We pivoted his niche, we adjusted the messaging, and we aligned what they wanted to sell with clients' needs. The roadmap gave Sam the focus to generate that kind of growth. And I promised you guys a gift. So I'm going to get that gift for you right now, because I am a woman of my word. I'm going to share that with you right now in the chat. So this is a script. Well, there's lots of other things in there too. But this is a script for raising your rates so that you can leave today and you can do just that. So sorry, I'm just going to see if I can mute everyone, because I can hear a little bit of feedback, but I don't know if it's just me. But anyway, okay. So there's a guide to raising your rates so that you can start to plan that when you leave today. It's got lots in there, but most of all, it has my favorite script, proven script, to raise your rates so that you will feel great and your clients will love it too. So that link is in the chat. And yeah, if you guys would like to hear about these roadmaps that I speak of, then please stay with me for another 5 or 10 minutes, and I would love to show you the agency growth code. So that link is in the chat. Well, thank you. For those of you guys who are staying, thank you so much. I promise it's going to be 5 or 10 minutes to quickly tell you about the best thing that I have ever made and that I am so incredibly excited about. And then I'd love as well to stay afterwards and answer any questions that you've got about pricing, about the growth code, or anything else. So why have I created this? Well, I've created this because running an agency is hard. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Ian. I love that feedback. Thank you so much. But yeah, running an agency is hard. And I always say that running a business will push your buttons, but running an agency business will push buttons that you never knew you had. So if you are an agency owner or service business who wants that roadmap to get off the plateau and get off the roller coaster and grow your agency on your terms, you're in the right place. Because if you're ready to get off the roller coaster and have predictable, sustainable sales growth, even if you hate selling, if you're ready to quit winging it and put solid foundations in place and you're ready to scale your agency, or if you're ready to get out of the weeds, or as I say, get out of the jar and read the label so that you can master the 5 key areas or business pillars and have more certainty so the business doesn't rely on you. And if you're ready to start running your agency instead of your agency running you and have more ease, flow, and freedom, then I want to invite you to join the journey to crack the growth code. This is everything that I wish I had when I was stuck in the messy in the middle phase. I want to tell you about the time I had Black April and I had to go door to door until I figured out sales. There's so many things I'd love to tell you about, but this is about giving you a clear path, a roadmap to consistent, predictable growth, to double your agency without doubling your stress or without going blind, which is what happened to me when I was in that messy and middle phase. The program is designed around the operating system, which covers 3 core pillars: getting clients like clockwork, mastering the business models, and systems that scale. But one of the frameworks, I think I've mentioned already, the one that I'm so truly excited about is the agency leap system. You see, around 60%, probably more, of agency leads globally come from referrals, which isn't a strategy until you make it a strategy. Yet clients who understand and systematically implement the LEAP system don't worry where their next client is coming from. They're in charge. They're in control of their destiny. Focus, action, and the ALS, the agency LEAP system, will help you to reach 7 figures and beyond. If 7 figures is what you want, but either way, we still want to get off that roller coaster. So inside, I'm so excited to share the agency runbook. This is going to kickstart the systems that scale early on and get you on the track with that. I also have a scaling simulator and a whole SOP library that I'll be sharing throughout the journey with templates from KPI tracking to your forecast revenue spreadsheet. Inside the program, you will have lifetime access to all the recordings, the training modules, all the templates. You'll have a strategy session with me to kick off and create your 10-10-10 plan. We'll do monthly calls, monthly planning calls to take your goals and break them down to quarterly, monthly, and even weekly, so you know exactly what you need to do to work on your business. We'll do hot seat calls. You'll have chat access to me. We'll do live trainings, and I've got some amazing guest coaches lined up. Guest coaches who are going to work with you on leadership, on mindset, and finances. Plus, we'll have all the group coaching sessions and lots more. But the financial results, all of these things are great. What really lights me up is when I get messages like this from clients. The text messages telling me that we've hit our target and it's only the 6th of the month. Messages like this, it's February and we've had our biggest sales month ever. Whenever I work with clients, you know, I can give you all of the strategies, the tactics, which you probably know already. It's not the knowing that counts, it's the implementing. And when you work in a program like this, we can also work on the invisible elastic band that's holding you back from achieving your goals. Now, everything inside the program is valued at well over $20,000. I'm not going to show you a value stack because you guys are far more sophisticated than that, but you know I'm going to offer it to you for a whole lot less. In fact, it's half the investment with the founding member prices at the moment at $10,000. But if you sign up in March, you will get those founding member prices. And for my fast action takers who sign up by March 25th, you're also going to get 6 bonus coaching sessions with me one-on-one, or 3 sessions with me, plus I will do a live training with your team on effective client relationships to help you never lose a client again. You're going to get early access to the whole Clients Like Clockwork module as well, so you can get going on getting a return on investment. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What if it doesn't work? What if I don't get any value? What if I don't get an ROI? I totally hear you. Best case, you spend some time working on the business and you get clarity and you grow the business, you've got a roadmap, and signing one client will pay for your investment. Worst case, for the first time ever, it might not work. But I did help a SaaS business with the same model to produce $280,000 of revenue per quarter on Evergreen in an automated strategy. And that's a cool $1 million in sales. But that case study is actually inside the program because I want to show you how to turn your marketing into an evergreen machine. So if you are ready to hop off the roller coaster, I will bring the way. You just have to bring the will, and we will create unshakable success. So if you would like me to be your chauffeur to success, you can DM me and we can chat about this, answer any questions. You can go to thegrowthcode.co.uk. Sorry, I've just seen in the chat that I put the wrong link in there for the gift. You can go to thegrowthcode.co.uk. You can have a look, read more about the program, and you can sign up if you're a fast action taker. Yeah, or you can book a call and let's have a chat and see what is actually the right thing for you next. Now, I really hope that you RSVP, because on the other side of the messy in the middle is this rewarding agency that is fun to run, that will give you more freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, and you really deserve it. And I am so ready to celebrate your success. So that is it for me, and I would love to fix that link in the chat and answer any questions. And I'd love to hear what you guys found valuable today so that I know what to do more of next time. And thank you so much for staying to the end. Please feel free to unmute yourself and let's chat. We've got 10 minutes, so whew. There we go. I fixed the links in the chat. Yeah, does anyone have any questions? Oh, thank you, Michaela. That's awesome. I'll respond to your DM and we will have a chat. You're welcome, Phil. Thank you. Thank you for coming live. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'll have to send a DM to Elon to say thanks for keeping the internet up for me. Thanks for coming, Dan. Thank you, Richard. You're welcome, Kelly. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for coming. Abby, I've got something to send to you in the post. I will have that to you tomorrow. Awesome. Well, unless anybody has any questions, I'll hang around for another minute or two. Where is everybody actually? Dan, whereabouts in the world are you at the moment with T-Bone?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, so we're in the States. We're in the Philadelphia suburbs in the Northeast.
Oh, wow. How is T-Bone?
He's actually probably in that position right now, but napping on the couch. Thanks for asking.
Oh, that's good. I think somebody's just said there's a question in the chat. Have I missed a question?
Right, I think I've got a question.
Yeah, Glenn, go
Glenn,
for it.
hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yes, you too. Thanks very much for the presentation. Really insightful. One of the things that I feel like we've had challenges with this year And this might come within your course and your workshops and various things. We're a Shopify e-commerce agency based in the UK.
Yeah.
And we do good monthly revenue. We're not scraping the barrel as such, but I feel like we have hit like the top end of where we are. We've been sat taking around about the same amount of revenue each month, and we've never sort of grown past that. However, at the start of this year, with the economic climate going on, I feel like I've submitted several proposals this year and all pretty much been rejected. The pricing, we have raised our prices a little bit with some of our clients, the ones I would say I think can afford it. But we've put in a lot of proposals this year, the same type that we did last year, and lost pretty much all of them. So my question is there a possibility that we're pricing ourselves out of proposals by going in too high with the current economic climate? And how do you have something in your course that sort of focuses on that and maybe fixes that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Glenn, you've picked up on something that I just want to mention, and that is what got you here won't get you where you want to go. So once what I always find that agency businesses find themselves stuck on this plateau. They find they have a certain amount of growth, they do really, really well, and then they get stuck on this plateau. And unfortunately, this is where a lot of agencies either stay and fizzle out, or they struggle there for eternity. And there's a few reasons for it. And to try to answer your question specifically without a lot more information, there's two things. The first is I would be looking at how you're qualifying those marketing leads into sales qualified leads. So this is one of the things that I teach is, how to qualify those leads and how to build a script so that you're getting a budget from clients and you're really qualifying properly. Because out of all those proposals that you've done, if your win rate is dropped, then I would first say, well, let's look at qualifying properly, because if you're doing fewer proposals but winning more, that's the first thing. The second thing that I'd want to have a look at is Shopify and that kind of market. You're starting to get a lot of competition. In fact, not starting to, you have a lot of competition. So we'd want to dig deep into your value proposition. So that's, some of the things that I talked about with the cybersecurity firm, for example. So I'd be looking at saying, let's get all of those objections that you have and let's workshop them to overcome all of them one at a time. Now, one of the things I always say is client experience is really important during the buying process, because you want to be giving those clients more certainty than any other agency. So you can be double the price, but if you give a client more certainty, that's how you're going to win. And there's lots and lots of ways that we would be able to do that. But the idea of it comes from, for example, it's why Uber has been so successful. When you can see the little blue dot and you can see when your cab is arriving, you've got certainty. So you don't mind if he's going to be 10 minutes late or 15 minutes late, because So how do we take that certainty, build it into your sales process to give your clients more certainty than anyone else? There's a few things like that that I would absolutely want to work on, and we would definitely cover that in quite a few of the modules. But
that's great, thank you.
Yeah, I hope that's given you maybe some ideas that you can go away and start having a look at. The first thing is really capture all of those objections, capture them on a piece of paper and start workshopping around ways to overcome them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a great question. And it is a different economy right now. But a lot of my clients are still smashing sales records. So there is still a lot of work out there. And, whether it's marketing, branding, new websites, one thing that we as an agency industry need to be helping clients to see and understand is that when the going is good, when times are good, people aren't buying just because they've got money. They're buying because you're marketing. They're buying because you're investing. So when the times are, when we have a bit of a downturn, now's not the time to stop investing. So you've got to try and bring your clients along with that concept and educate them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just had a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I put it in the chat, but then I don't think you could see it, so I thought let me just say it out loud. I just had a question. Actually, it's kind of related to what you were just saying around creating that certainty. So we do digital marketing, and to be honest, like results massively vary across different clients. Like one client, I can massively over deliver what I thought I was going to deliver for them, and then another client massively under deliver what I thought I was going to do for them. So I guess I would just love to understand a bit more about like pricing in that context, how you were kind of putting a number on the size of the problem you're solving for a client. So if we could unlock, say, 20, 30, 40K in additional revenue for them, like that makes sense then from like a value pricing perspective, right? But for me, that number is a big question mark on it because I don't really know until I start doing it. So I just wanted to see if you had any advice really on kind of like how to craft value-based pricing around that type of model.
So is it Lucia? Did I say it correctly?
Lucia, like the island St. Lucia.
Lucia. That's so beautiful.
Oh,
so Lucia, what I would say is kind of a little bit similar to my answer with Glenn, is when you're taking a marketing qualified lead and you're trying to qualify them into a sales qualified lead, having a really good process that helps you to understand that pain point. So when a client comes to you, we can ask triggering questions to say to them, okay, so you've come to me for digital marketing. Awesome. Why is that? And then they'll usually give you a reason. And then you'll say, okay, so why is that important to you? And they might dig another level deeper. And then you can ask questions in a way, for example, so if you don't solve that problem, or if you don't achieve that, what's the impact on your business? And we design, I love designing sales scripts, especially for creative entrepreneurs, because creative people, my favorite people, they don't like to sell because selling is icky, right? But it's not, it's actually awesome. So what we want to do is we want to get your script and we want to get it into a position where you can find out from a client, how long have they had this problem? How long have they had this project that's been hanging around? What's the cost to them of not solving this or not delivering this project? And we want to find ways of getting them to identify the pain, but then we can take that and then we can amplify it so that in your proposals, you are, I call it sticking the knife in and then twisting it a little bit. We're presenting their pain and then we're making it a little bit worse. And then even this question helps Glenn too. You can tell them the cost of getting this wrong. You can tell them the cost of, if you go to a Shopify agency and they stuff up your analytics, or they don't do this right, or they don't do that right. And same with you, if you set up your Google AdWords and you don't have the right campaign conversions, or whatever the case might be, this is going to be the cost. So what you do is you give the client certainty by then presenting to them your proven process. Now, proven process, it's something I mentioned in the TAPS, where you've got the tangible, aligned, proven, and specific. Proof doesn't always have to be case studies and numbers and that kind of thing. Proof can also be your proven process. So why is it, Lucia, that your agency does things in a certain way to guarantee results for clients? Glenn, why does your Shopify agency do things in a specific way so that things are done properly? I can never remember the name of the beer, but there was a beer brand years ago. They came up with a campaign which basically just talked about how they make beer from water and hops. Every beer is made from water and hops, but all they did was they took their process and they turned it into a marketing campaign. You guys can do the same thing with your agencies. And you can do the same things to show clients and educate them why you should be the trusted ones. You show them what's coming next, just like the Uber app. You give them more certainty than anyone else and you will dominate the market. I'm conscious that I'm summarizing points that I usually spend like a lot of time on each one, but I hope that has helped to answer your question.
No, it has. Thank you. So just to like summarize or like clarify, you're saying like try and create as much certainty for clients as possible. And if you have, for example, digital marketing, which is very uncertain, like the end outcome, but create that certainty with the process of how you approach it. So create certainty with us as an agency, but the outcome, like, you know, don't try and create certainty, because I know a lot of agencies do that and they promise crazy results that they just don't deliver, which undermines trust long term. But take that same certainty that you want to do for the outcome, but you can't, focus on what you can control and do it for our agency and our processes.
You've summed that up beautifully. Focus on what you can control. LinkedIn, Instagram, it's all at the moment stuffed with people promising to get you 200 leads and get you 200 million pounds in the next 90 days, or we work for free. It's become like normal. Like, you know, I see people talking all the time about 6-figure businesses and 7-figure businesses. By doing that, we make people numb to it. So take a difference. When everyone's zigging, you must zag. And one of the simplest ways is, you know, when you go to the supermarket, you go to the same supermarket over and over again, and then all of a sudden they move everything around and you're like, what? Where's the milk? It's the same kind of thing. When the whole industry is talking about getting you 200 leads and doing this and doing that, you should focus on something else and differentiate yourself. There was recently somebody who was putting up one of these case studies about, oh, we did this, we got this many leads and this and this. And I actually commented and questioned him about it, because they were actually talking complete and utter nonsense. But to a client who doesn't know digital marketing, they would have been like, oh, wow, this is amazing. When I questioned him, I did get deleted and blocked, but yeah. You guys are better than that, and I know that because you're here taking this time to improve yourselves. So I know that you're better than that.
Thank you so much. It's really helpful.
You're so welcome. Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions? I've still got Ansel, Karen, Tom, David, Dan. You guys are still with me, which is awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah, carry on.
Just well, I've got you, you know, seize the opportunity. I guess I'm just wondering, you know, where you have kind of monthly retainer clients, when it comes to pricing, do you think the better strategy would be focus on increasing prices for new customers and new clients, rather than trying to do too much with existing clients and increasing prices there? You know, it's probably easier, because then it's like you've set the expectation that your price is here. So if you keep, you know, increasing it over time, like I feel like eventually that can create some animosity. Whereas if it's new clients, you know, it's a lot easier to do.
So I have very controversial opinions about retainers. So I just have to start with that caveat.
Oh, interesting.
When I ran my agency business, we had 2 retainers that were worth over, it was just under £700,000, and both contracts got pulled within a month of each other, and it sent all sorts of panic into me, because that was more than 50% of our revenue. So with retainers, I want you to really be looking at your retainer clients, and I want you really to be digging into the numbers to see what kind of churn you can sustain, and see how your pipeline is for constantly bringing in new retainers. You have a business, when you have an agency business that's typically project-based, and then you try and throw in retainers because you're just worried about cash flow, it's a band-aid or plaster, if you're in England, that it doesn't always do the job you want it to. So retainers are very, very tricky. But what I would say is when you're presenting to your retainer clients, it's what I said earlier. You want to take the steam and make it solid into ice so they can touch it, hold it, feel it, understand it. And you always want to be going with value first. So that script actually will have a really good way of you positioning an increase in price to your retainer clients. Because at least every 6 months to 12 months, as a minimum, you should be reviewing those accounts, reviewing the risk, and then you should, be like making sure that if you increase the price, what can we lose this client? What clients do we have in the pipeline? I'm trying to answer very fast so that I kind of help you out with that, but it's a really delicate thing to manage when you have a business with a lot of revenue on retainers. So yeah, just try and think back to the steam, water, ice, and just making stuff solid. When you're presenting reports to clients, you want to be presenting value. The moment a client starts saying something like, well, what have you done for my retainer this month? Well, how many hours have you spent on this? Well, what have you done for that time? As soon as you start getting into that with clients, it's time to start, looking at either presenting value and turning the relationship around, or it's time to start looking for another client.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes,
That's
sir.
promise. That's it. That's it.
You're welcome.
I'd just like to add how insightful that actually was, because we have clients that keep my business partner sees cash flows retainers as a stability thing, but it actually, when you're just speaking there, it's a huge risk, because it also makes you lazy on your pipeline in terms of, oh, we've got these retainers, it's bringing this nice cash flow, but then like shit, something happens.
Yeah.
Like you've just mentioned, 2 go in the space of a month, and then what? You haven't got a pipeline to sort of look at. It's
Retainers are a band-aid to something that is not working in the business. If you're looking for a band-aid to cash flow, then we need to look under the hood. And that's why I designed the operating system in that way, where we first fix getting clients like clockwork. Then we start looking at the business model, because your business model may not be set up for retainers, and that's okay. But if your business model is set up for retainers, then how do we optimize it? How do we put in contracts, price breaks? How do we put into contracts that we deliver value? And then we start looking as well at systems and processes so that you can nail it and scale it. So it's it's all kind of joined together. There's lots of things that you need to have right before you start having a retainer-based business that relies on that for cash flow. It's very, I know the cash flow is nice, and having that kind of comfort blanket can feel nice, but it's actually very risky. So yeah, I'm quite passionate about retainers. Yeah. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to share this stuff with you guys. I am so lucky that I get to do this for my job and share this kind of stuff with agencies. So if anyone has any questions, you've got my email, you've got my LinkedIn profile. So please book a call, drop me a DM, check out the growth code. If you think it's something that might be interesting, that you want to have a look at and see if it's the right fit, please, I would love nothing more than to support you guys in becoming all you can be, do, and have in your agency. But yeah, if that's it, then I will let you guys go on with the rest of your Thursday. Bye. Bye, Lucia.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Welcome. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you, Glenn. Bye, everyone. See you soon.